Hey everyone, I'm Andy,
And I'm Sean.
and this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, Mardu Citadel.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching the Commander's Brew here on YouTube. If you want to help us out, you know what to do. Just hitting subscribe is really, really great. If you also want to get involved, however, get a little more into things, you can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/commandersbrew. And there you can help us actually make the show, whether it's just with the donation or if once you're in there, you get into that Discord and we can help us brew the decks that you're seeing on these episodes every week. So, yeah, check it out, patreon.com/commandersbrew. But without further ado, we're going to get into the big deck tech for this week. All right, well, let's do it, Sean. Let's get into the big deck tech for this week. What are we working with here?
I believe Jirina Kudrow, the Mardu human soldier from the Commander Precons, the Commander 2020. She is a Mardu Humans Matter 3/3, 1 red, white, black. When Jirina Kudrow enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token for each time you've cast a commander from the command zone this game. And other humans get +2/+0. That's a big power bump considering a ton of humans are probably 1/1 in token form.
Yeah, definitely. And like this is kind of an interesting thing here because this commander, it's kind of a simple commander, right? And I remember when we came up with this, or when we came across this commander, we're like, this is an okay ability. So I kind of wanted to let you know what's going on here. So as you know, the episode is called Mardu Citadel. So we're talking about Bolas Citadel, but we'll get to that in a second. What I wanted to do, the sort of the tail of the tape here, the tail of this deck, sort of how this came to be, is that I've been playing Historic lately, and there's a deck in Historic that I saw LSV post about, and then which was a Pioneer deck, and then I immediately ported it over into Historic, and then a day later I found that all the good players did the same thing, so then I just used their list. But originally I had my own little brew going. Anyways, I used Bolas Citadel, and it was just churning out creatures and sacrificing stuff, and I was like, oh, this is a fun commander deck. This is something, it's kind of a new span, it's kind of aristocrats it's got a lot of life in our version, not in the Historic version, but in our version we've got some life gain, we've got all this kind of stuff going on, so it's really, really cool. So yeah, so I chose Jirina Kudrow as the commander. This might come as a surprise to the listeners if you know what we're going for, but also it might come as a surprise if you were in the Discord, because I did not mention Jirina Kudrow as the commander at all. We tossed around a few commanders, and actually I wanted to talk about some of the possibilities. So keep in mind, this is a life. We're looking to pay life for stuff in this deck. We're looking to take damage and prevent damage to ourselves. And we're looking to sort of aristocrat, ping people out. So it's kind of this. It seems like a little scatterbrain, but it all comes together because of these colors, because of Mardu. So when we were talking about this, the people in Discord, they were also like, "Wait, what is this deck?" And then so they had some great suggestions. So Oros the Avenger was one, which is the 6-mana Mardu 6/6 dragon. It's part of the same cycle as Vorosh and all those ones where you if you hit you pay and you do something. This one is if you hit you pay 2 and a white, and if you do Oros deals 3 damage to each non-white creature. Wow. Yeah, so it's a cool ability. It's like a little wrath type thing, and we have a bunch of we're talking about a bunch of stuff that prevents damage to creatures as well as ourselves. I ended up leaning a little bit away from the preventing damage to creatures angle and instead just focused on ourselves. So Oros is still good, but we wanted something else. We also had I thought of Alesha for a while, because Alesha can bring back some low-powered creatures from our graveyard. This one would still be a really good include, actually, and might even be a little better, but we ended up not going with it. Also, we had Lycia, Sanguine Tribune. It's the big 8-mana 4/4, but she costs 1 less to cast for each 1 life you've gained this turn. So there's, like I said, there's a lot of life gain in this deck. Lycia herself has lifelink and first strike, and you can pay life to do stuff. You can put 3 counters on her, and you can only on your turn and only once each turn. So she becomes really big and becomes this really big issue. Lucia also, this was the one that I was going with at first. This was the commander that we sort of out of the Discord decided to go with. I eventually changed it, obviously, to Jarina, because I found a lot of the time in this deck, I just wanted more creatures to sacrifice. So Jarina being 4 mana to get a 3/3 and a 1/1 was actually kind of better than these other effects. You know, and like it's possible that you play this deck a little bit and be like, oh, actually, I think Lucia is really good, or actually, I kind of want a Lesha. So they're all very possible, and guess what? All those commanders are very cheap. So you know what? Swap them in, swap them out, whatever you like. We're going with Jarina, sister of Lisa Kudrow, for this one. Okay, so let's talk about the plan. I mentioned it very briefly. What's the type of thing we're looking to do here? It's kind of a mix of things. I was really inspired by Bolas Citadel, obviously. I was inspired by Command the Dreadhorde, which I think I've mentioned before as just like being a big favorite of mine, a big card that I really love. We're going to read these cards. Actually, I think, is Bolas Citadel up next for us to read? No. Yes, it is. Okay, so let's just read Bolas Citadel, because this is very important that we know what this is. Sean, why don't you read this for us?
Sure. Bolas Citadel is a legendary artifact. It costs 6 total, 3 black, black, black. You may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, you pay life instead of mana to cast it. So a 4 CMC spell costs you 4 life, but you don't pay any mana. You can also tap 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses, so you can tap and sacrifice 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life. Bolas Citadel is very strong. Being able to, right, we have a lot of life in Commander. We start with 40, so paying life for things is kind of cheap for us. Like, we get a huge discount on it if you think of it that way. So free spells, I'll take them.
Oh yeah, we'll take them all day. Great thing is this also is play from the top of our library. So we can actually play our first land with Bolas Citadel as well. Mm-hmm. So that helps us get our little, like, to sort of keep things rolling if we want. And basically that's what we want to do. We want to keep things rolling, but what we want to roll, as it were, with this is this aristocrats type deck where we're casting things, we're sacking things, we're doing damage that way, we're going to recur things from the graveyard as well, and just it's kind of this, like, I don't know, it's just one giant combo kind of. So basically what we want to do is get a sack outlet, do some aristocrats type stuff, but this isn't a hard aristocrats deck. I just want to say that also. When we're brewing, it's like, oh, so this is an aristocrats deck. It's like, well, yeah, it's got some of those elements, but it's not like so heavily focused that we have all of the regular stuff you'll see in every aristocrats deck. It has a bit of a package of that type of stuff, but then we also spread out, and you'll see what's going on. So let's just talk about 2 of our best sack outlets, because we got to have these sack outlets, and and these sack outlets themselves are actually going to help move through with our Bolas Citadel. So top priority, get our Citadel out, right? And then next priority, get us a Woe Strider. 2 and a black for a 3/2. When Woe Strider enters the battlefield, you create an 0/1 white goat creature token. This is key because Woe Strider only is allowed to sacrifice another creature to scry 1. So we want, and just the fact that it gives us this free creature is really great as well. So yeah, it has the ability of sacrifice another creature, scry 1. It also has escape. So you can pay 3 black and exile 4 other cards to cast Woe Strider from your graveyard, and it escapes with 2+1/+1 counters on it, so it becomes even bigger. Woe Strider is, to me, even Viscera Seer is the next one I'm going to talk about, but to me, Woe Strider is the main one. It's recurable. It just by itself. It comes with the sack fodder. It can even do a little damage here and there, and it can block and stuff. So it's really, really great. So I love Woe Strider. And yeah, Viscera Seer is a classic too. The single black for the 1/1 to sack this creature and scry 1. You can sack Viscera Seer to itself, which is the advantage it has over Woe Strider, as well as obviously the mana advantage. But yeah, but these things are great. So we're going to be able to sacrifice, let's say, that goat token, and we're going to be able to scry, if you cast a couple spells, you're going to hit that land, sack one of the creatures you've cast, move that land to the bottom, and keep it rolling. It's even it's even sweeter if when we're casting the creatures, we can get a little token support. So Sean, why don't you take a look at these 2 great token makers we have?
Oh, so great. How about Oketra's Monument? 3 for a legendary artifact. White creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. That includes our commander. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you make a little 1/1 white warrior creature token, and it has vigilance. Not a human, unfortunately.
Not a human. So Jarina will not pump these creatures. That's true.
Yeah.
And
The other one was Blessed Sanctuary, 3 white for an enchantment. Prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to you and creatures you control. Very nice ability. Great for those blasphemous acts.
Yeah.
And whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 2/2 white unicorn creature token. That unicorn is also not a human.
This Blessed Sanctuary is the card. It does both of these abilities are excellent for this deck. We want to prevent non-combat damage to ourselves, and hey, creatures too, great. But also we want to be making these sacrificable tokens. So this is perfect. Very, very happy with this. So once this kind of setup is out, once we've got Bolas Citadel and like we're just chaining these types of things together, we're making tokens, we're casting these great creatures from the top of our deck. The way we win is just with some classic stuff. Some Judith, the Scourge Diva, 1 black, red for the 2/2. Other creatures you control get +1/+0, and whenever a non-token creature you control dies, Judith deals 1 damage to any target. So there's enough non-token support here that this kind of doesn't matter. This is also sweet because of the tokens to just pump them by +1. Like that's a nice little bonus right there as well. So Judith gives us a little bit on both sides. But if you want to go hard on the sacrificing, Zulaport Cutthroat is where you want to be. 1 and a black for the 1/1. Whenever Zulaport Cutthroat or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain 1 life. So this is the true engine here. This plus the sack outlets plus sacking all the tokens and whatever else, right? Zulaport Cutthroat, Blood Artist. There's the aristocrat type stuff. Because these guys are going to gain you the life back when you sack the creatures for you to cast your next thing with Bolas' Citadel. So that paying all that life becomes less of an impact on your life total, right? This is a neat move before we get to the neat moves, but using Bolas' Citadel to sacrifice 10 non-9 permanents and dealing 10 damage to all your opponents, if you have a Zulaport Cutthroat out and you sacrificed 10 creatures, then that's everyone takes 10 and then everyone takes another 10 from the Cutthroat, right?
Whoa.
So that's everyone loses 20 life.
Yikes.
And then if you have say one of the vampire ones that also does the same thing as this, then that's 30. it gets wild.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's really cool.
Fun.
Yeah, really fun stuff. And yeah, you can really go off and cast a lot of stuff, but that's the dream, right? That's what we're looking to do. That's the end game. But you're going to have to survive on the way there, right? So there's a couple little things that what can we do along the way when we're piecing this together? Because not every game are you going to be able to tutor right away, get your Citadel down early, and then just go, right? You're going to have some games where things don't go your way. So what else do we have that we're dealing with?
So we're going to drop Font of Agonies. It's a 1 black enchantment, and whenever you pay life, you put that many blood counters on Font of Agonies. Citadel has us pay a bunch of life, so that's convenient. You can also pay 1 and a black to remove 4 blood counters from Font of Agonies. So as long as if every multiple of 4 life you've paid since this dropped, you get to pay 1 and a black and remove 4 of them and destroy target creature. Those are the things that are threatening our life total the regular way. We also got Junk Diver, 3 mana for a bird artifact, 1/1. It has flying, but the key here is when it dies, you return another artifact from your graveyard to your hand. If they get that Citadel, well, we're going to get it back with Junk Diver. And also Smothering Abomination, 2 black. It's a devoid creature with 4/3 from the same era as Zulaport Cutthroat. It has flying. I keep forgetting it has flying. It's a 4/3 flyer, which is pretty good.
That's pretty good for 4, yeah.
At the beginning of your upkeep, you have to sacrifice a creature. However, whenever you sacrifice a creature on your upkeep or any other time, you draw a card. So that Bolas' Citadel, sacking a bunch of things would get you lots of cards back, in addition to the regular sacking to our sack outlets on the way.
Yeah, so just like Font lets us stay alive because we got other ways of paying life in here too, so we can kill some things if we need to. Junk Diver's cool because there's a couple of cards like that in the deck, and there's a couple of artifacts, so we can actually like use them as chump blockers and get them back every time they do that, which is neat.
Yeah.
As well as the Citadel stuff, and yeah, Abomination just letting us draw some cards. So that's kind of what we're looking to do. So now let's talk about all of the incredible Nate Miz.
Working on a
Neat.
Okay, so one of them I already mentioned, and it was one of the inspirations for the deck, and that would be the combination of the Wanderer and Command the Dreadhorde. So, and the Wanderer is just a placeholder for other cards with this ability, but this is where it comes from because we saw this combo in War of the Spark, and like you could get this combo in Limited, and it was pretty interesting.
It was so good.
So the Wanderer is a Planeswalker. She's 3 and a white for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker that says prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to you and other permanents you control. Much like Blessed Sanctuary also has this ability on it, or at least a very similar one. And then you can -2 the Wanderer to exile target creature with power 4 or greater, which is a sweet little ability to have on there too. Why not? But we're really looking for that prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to you angle, because then we also have Command the Dreadhorde, which is 4 black. Choose any number of target creature and or planeswalker cards in graveyards. Command the Dreadhorde deals damage to you equal to the total converted mana cost of those cards. Put them onto the battlefield under your control. So the idea would be to get a bunch of stuff out, a bunch of these creatures, do a big Bolas sacrifice if you want, and then play Command the Dreadhorde because you've got Wanderer out and get it all back, including, which I totally forgot about until I actually put the deck together, that Command the Dreadhorde gets stuff from other graveyards too. And in Commander, That's just madness because you can just get everything in everyone else's graveyard back to your side of the board. And again, if you have Wanderer or Blessed Sanctuary or one of those effects out, you don't take any of that damage.
Ooh.
And it's so interesting because in black we're always paying life, which is different than taking damage. So this effect of it dealing the damage is like really relevant to the preventing it and stuff. So
if it said you lose life equal to, then this wouldn't work. The Wanderer wouldn't prevent that.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're really happy it says damage because that's why the Wanderer works with it. And this is just a fun combo that's powerful in Commander. That's just going to let us, go extra hard. And if you don't even get Bolas' Citadel, but you can do this, that's cool too. We'll just take it. It's a powerful ability. Like I said, getting stuff from your opponent's graveyard is really great as well. So there's some other stuff that works really well with Command the Dreadhorde though also. Sean, why don't you take a look at these things?
Sure. Purity, 3 white. It's a 6/6 elemental incarnation with flying. If non-combat damage would be dealt to you, prevent that damage, and you gain life equal to the damage prevented this way. Command the Dreadhorde would give us life instead of taking
it gains us the life instead.
And this is also in the cycle here. So whenever Purity is put into a graveyard from anywhere, you shuffle Purity back into its owner's library. We've also got Samite Ministration, 1 and a white, instant. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn by a source of your choice. Whenever damage from a black or red source is prevented, Command the Dreadhorde, you may gain that much life instead. So, that's great. You gain the life. Great ways to do it.
Yeah, just instead of hitting you, you actually gain that life back. What a blow. That's, and it's like, well, okay, you commanded the Dreadhorde, but you're going to take 30 life. It's like, oh, not only am I not taking the damage, I'm gaining 30 life. Get out of here.
Right. But it is, correct me if I'm wrong, if you have the Wanderer out, the Wanderer will prevent the damage, so there's no damage to replace.
True. Sorry, I didn't mean you wouldn't have both these at the same time. Ideally, you would have just one of them. And yeah, if you have Wanderer, no need to play out your Purity. Wait for them to deal with that, and then.
There is something to be said for that redundancy because it would be
That's
I
true.
I would love to end an opponent by them greedily casting a Command the Dreadhorde, and then while it's on the stack, I remove the Wanderer, so then there's nothing to prevent that damage when it resolves.
That would be sweet, yeah. Another thing you can do with Command the Dreadhorde, which is pretty nice, is get a Brash Taunter out, which is 4 and a red for the 1/1 indestructible, and it says when Brash Taunter is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target opponent, and you can pay 2 and a red to tap, and Brash Taunter fights another target creature. Just a nice little damage dealer there. And then Stuffy Doll, which is a similar ability. 5 mana for an 0/1. When it enters, you choose a player. Stuffy Doll is indestructible. When it's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to the chosen player. And you can tap it to deal 1 damage to itself. Combine that up with Pariah, 2 and a white, which is the aura that says all damage that would be dealt to you is dealt to enchanted creature instead. So similarly, if you have Wanderer, this doesn't work. But if we don't have Wanderer, this is just another way where we can stop this damage. And in fact, now not only just stop the damage or gain life, you deal that damage right back to one of your opponents.
Wow.
Killer. Absolutely killer. So, yeah, Pariah is a powerful card in this deck, because not only can you put it on these indestructible creatures that have that sort of native indestructibility, we actually just have indestructibility, the card, the aura, the 3 and a white aura that says enchanted permanent has indestructible. So you can now just put Pariah and indestructibility on any creature, and you're just not taking damage anymore at this point. And that creature is never dying unless it's exiled, so you've got you've got, like, this is a good way earlier in the game too to just hold your life total, so people are just not going to be attacking you. There's no point, so they're going to maintain that life total for when you do get your big Bolas Citadel, or when you do get your big Command of the Dreadhorde, whatever, right?
Who needs Ghostly Prison when you can just not take any damage? It's
exactly.
Great.
Yeah, this one tends to make people a little more proactive at removing your stuff than Ghostly Prison and Propaganda.
Yeah, the prospect of not being able to ever do any damage to a player does inspire me to act.
For sure. Exactly. For sure. But you know what? If they have to, that's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a neat move.
This is a neat move. Tell us about this one.
This is Priest of the Forgotten Gods. So it's 1 and a black for a human cleric, 1/2. This is the key ability on this creature. Tap and sacrifice 2 other creatures. Any number of target players, probably all your opponents, lose 2 life and sack a creature. You add black and draw a card. So think about that if one of the creatures you're sacrificing is Golgari Thug. Golgari Thug is 1 and a black, human warrior, 1/1. Also has Dredge 4. I'm going to start with the Dredge part. So if Golgari Thug ever ends up in your graveyard for any reason, you can mill yourself for 4 and then Golgari Thug is your draw. Like, so if you would ever draw a card, you could be like, I'm not going to draw from my library. I'm going to draw Golgari Thug and then just mill myself for 4. So, but here's where it's so neat. You sack Golgari Thug with the Priest of the Forgotten Gods. Your opponents are doing a bunch of things. Golgari Thug died, so that trigger goes on the stack before the priest resolves. So now Golgari Thug says, when Golgari Thug dies, put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. You're allowed to put Golgari Thug back on top. So the card that you draw from Priest of the Forgotten Gods could be Golgari Thug if you want to keep this part of it going again, or put any sick creature back on from the graveyard if the Citadel's out, because now that creature's on the top of your... Well, no, you would draw it with the priest. So
you don't even need to put the Thug back on, because you can just dredge it back with the draw trigger.
That's true.
Right.
That's true. And then draw something different.
Yeah. So the move is to replace your draw with the Dredge 4, get Golgari Thug back in your hand that way, and then you've also got a bunch of stuff in the graveyard that next time Golgari Thug dies, maybe you do want something back on the top without the Dredge, right?
Yeah.
I had a game I was playing against the AI in Forge, and it's the AI, but what are you going to do? But I had 4 mana, so I was stuck on 4 mana this whole game. But I had Golgari Thug and Priest of Forgotten Gods, and they just couldn't stick a creature to the board at all. It was every turn. I was doing this every turn, and I was slowly building my board, and they just couldn't do anything.
Very nice.
I think here is the part where I will mention that in these type of sack decks, these like aristocrat style decks, it's really popular to run stuff like Grave, um, or what's it called? I was about to say Grave Titan. That is not what I meant. Anyways, Dictate of Erebos is the one that I know about more often.
Grave Pact.
Thank you, Grave Pact. So I don't run those cards anymore because I found them to be much too oppressive for our meta. And that's just for our personal meta. Like I found it to be just like completely stifling. And sure, you know what? Once in a while, I will run the vampire that does it. The Malakir, something of Malakir or whatever, the big 7-mana one.
Butcher of Malakir.
Thank you, Sean. I'll run him once in a while because it's a creature. It's a little easier to get rid of, and it costs 7 mana, so it's like really it's tough to get to, right? But even then, like I found it to be very oppressive in our meta, and like I could be the type of person that's like, hey, our meta's just got to adapt to this, man. Or I can be like, you know what, the games where these cards come up are just simply not fun, and they are not for me, for my meta. So that's a choice that I've made. If your meta is like really high powered and you're finding that like you want to add those cards in, I would go ahead and do that. Personally, I find Priest of Forgotten Gods to be like the perfect in between. It still has this everyone sacks a creature type ability, but it's not something where I'm just like, people can't ever have creatures. I hate that. So I like this. This is nice. It's right in the middle there. It's a nice, like, yes, it's recurable. I can do this several times, but I gotta find a way to untap her or wait till my whole turn comes around. I find it to be way more reasonable, and that's just where the level of where our meta is at. And if it's fine for where your meta is at, then go ahead and run those cards because they're going to be really great. But yeah, anyways, so next on the neat moves, we're going to talk about some stuff that works with Citadel really well. So we already talked about in sort of the main plan with the sack outlets and the scrying and all that kind of thing. But let's take a look at what if, let's say we're, I actually had this happen. We Citadel down to like 4 life, and I'm like, oh man, I can't even cast anything probably. The next card that comes up, Oketra's Last Mercy. 1 white for the sorcery that says your life total becomes equal to your starting life total. Lands you control don't untap during your next untap step. Well, guess what? I don't care if my lands untap. I don't need lands. I'm not spending mana to cast my spells in this deck. If you come across Oketra's Last Mercy, it's fantastic in this deck. So really, really good. Another one is Grave Purge. 2 and a black to put any number of target creature cards from your library on top of your library. Draw a card. So this one is especially great if you do it right after Oketra's Last Mercy. Just load up back to 40 life and then put all of the creatures back on top, or sacrifice them all with the tap trigger. Get everyone to lose 10 life, then put all 10 of those back up, or put the the creatures back up, and then cast them all again.
Yeah, and really, if you've got like a Zulaport Cutthroat in the mix, we already know your opponent's losing 20 or more at a time.
Exactly. And then I'm going to just read the second one here, which is Exquisite Archangel, 5 white for the 5/5 with flying. And it says, if you would lose the game, instead exile Exquisite Archangel, and your life total becomes equal to your starting life total. This is just going to be a nice bit of insurance. There can be ways to deal damage to yourself. Like, let's say you get the Citadel and you get it down to like 1 or 2 life, and now you can't spend the last thing. And if you have Exquisite Archangel out, you might be able to like sack 2 things, and then Mayhem Devil deals 2 damage to you. You lose, but then then you're just back up to your 40 life again. There's all kinds of ways to do it. There's also the dream scenario where you just cast everything until it's 0 life, and then you go. Because you can't pay life past 0, right? If something costs 3, the
rules allow you to spend your life if you have it.
Mm-hmm.
Down to 0. You're allowed to spend your last life point, but you're not allowed to have credit and borrow negative life to spend.
Yeah, and if you think about it in those terms, it makes total sense. You just can't. You can't pay what you don't have, right?
You can go broke, but there's no credit cards for life in that.
Exactly. So yeah, Exquisite Archangel is tougher to get going than the Oketra's Last Mercy, or this next card, which is part of our combos, brought to you by Combos. Try our new combos: raspberry and ice.
That sounds like a Gatorade.
Okay.
Thank you, Combos Company.
Announcing our new huge sponsorship.
Yeah.
Okay, Sean. Yeah. So read these cards because there's a couple of them here. But this one was given to us by Nosrak 2. Thanks, Carson, for this one in our Discord. This is a huge combo.
So we start with Resolute Archangel. 5 white, 4/4 Flying Angel. When Resolute Archangel enters the battlefield, if your life total is less than your starting life total, it becomes equal to your starting life total. Great. Let's add to that Haunted Crossroads. It's an enchantment. 2 and a black, and then it has the ability, black, put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Very good deal. Very good card. Let's add to that Carnival of Souls. Whenever a creature comes into play, you lose 1 life and add black mana to your mana pool. Now, and a sack outlet? This is not a sack outlet, so
no,
I don't understand it. You need to explain it to me.
Okay, so any sack outlet, meaning like any of the free ones, your Woe Striders, your whatever.
I figured it out. Okay, yeah. Keep going,
okay,
keep
and
going.
you've got Resolute Archangel, which when she pops in, you gain all your life back to your starting life total. Haunted Crossroads is able to put a card from our graveyard on top, and then the Carnival of Souls, when a creature enters, we get a black mana. So, play Resolute Archangel, get a black mana, sacrifice the Archangel, she goes back to the graveyard, we Haunted Crossroads, use that black mana created by the Souls, the Carnival of Souls, to put her back on top, cast it with Bolas Citadel for 7 life. She gives our life total back up again, but do that forever. That is a loop that we can continue forever and ever, and that can trigger any number of our aristocrats things. And yes, that is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 card combo if you want to win with it. So that's what we're talking about here. It's 5 cards to just do it, and 6 if you want to actually win. Yeah. So Mayhem Devil or Zulaport Cutthroat or whatever it is. So yeah, that's our combo for this episode. Very cool stuff. So yeah, like this is the deck, right? This is the deck. It's like kind of this part sacrifice combo deck with aristocrat flavoring, with paying life and preventing all this damage too. So, and it all kind of runs all together and actually creates a really fun deck. I would suggest that if you're going to run this and you have you're going to want a tutor, you're going to want a few tutors in there just because you always want that Bolas Citadel. And then even if you get one of the tutors when you have the Citadel, it's not bad to just go grab, one of your aristocrat pieces if you're like ready to win, or maybe try and put this crazy 6-card combo together at the end. These are the kind of decks where I don't mind running tutors, because once I get the thing with my tutor, it's still going to be wild. You know what I mean? It's not one of these things where I'm like, okay, I get this, and I go get this, and I go get this. It's like, no. Yeah, I get the Bolas Citadel, but from there, it's still just like a crapshoot what comes off the top of the deck. So
yeah.
So it's still a lot of fun. And we're only running like 2 or 3 anyways. Surprises and discoveries. Yeah, this next one is I knew of this card before, but I had an original plan for it that was a lot better than what it turned out to be. But it's still a fun card, surprisingly. It's Madcap Experiment, 3 and a red. For the sorcery that says reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an artifact card, put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Madcap Experiment deals damage to you equal to the number of cards revealed this way. So my original plan was to have Bolas Citadel be the only artifact in the whole deck. So Madcap Experiment would always get it. And if we had Wanderer or, what's the other card there again? Blessed Sanctuary.
Unicorn,
yeah, if we had Blessed Sanctuary, we're not even taking that damage. We're gonna prevent that damage. Or even if we had that Samite card where we just we just gain that much life if we need to. So, but it turns out that if you're in Mardu, there's no other way to ramp really consistently.
You gotta run artifacts.
You gotta have those artifacts, because even black can ramp, but it's all swamp based. And like,
Yeah.
we're in 3 colors here. That's just not going to be consistent enough for us. So we had to run a bunch of artifacts. But you know what? That still makes Madcap Experiment pretty good, because if this is your turn 4 play, like, go ahead, man, just do it. You might get a Citadel. You're probably going to get a ramp card. But guess what? That's fine. You're happy to ramp in these colors, even if it is for 4 mana and a bunch of damage. It's totally fine. And again, it is totally fine in this deck to take the damage too, so that's fine. Yeah, that was my biggest kind of surprise, that this card actually remained good, even though my plan for it totally went out the window. All right, well, it's time to thank our Discord helpers, and we had a ton of them around this time around. Again, as we always do. Felt like there was a whole other deck being brewed by some of the folks in there, and that's I love seeing that, because it actually
collateral deck.
Yeah, it may have inspired the next one that I end up doing. We'll see. But Chiefy, Papadillo, Matt Fox, Mattis Men, Spiff, Neo Maxis, Valhalla Melta, Clockwork 12, Alex Cook, Lol What, Doomfrog, Magic Sphere, Sean. And not you, Sean, a different person named Sean. Shaftman 2001, who actually suggested blue for Surveil that we didn't actually go with, but I think it's just a whole other trail that we could have veered off in and used. And Pips Don't Lie as well. And there were probably others. I went through and tried to find everyone. But yeah, just a great brew. Had a lot of fun. I mean, there was a little initial confusion because it wasn't clear what we were going to do with this deck, but I think we got there, and I think this deck is a lot of fun. I've played it a couple times now. Okay, great. Well, we've done the shout-outs. We've done the official surprises and discoveries. Looks like it's time for the budget report. All right. So this week we have a bit of a different budget report, a bit of a different style. It's something we're trying to fidget with a couple of the little elements of the show, and I think this is an interesting one. So first of all, the full report, meaning what is the price of this deck? Well, TCG low is right around $60, not too bad, in the 50 high 50s. Market is around 110, so not too bad. We're not breaking the bank too badly here. Usually we give you the top 3 most expensive cards of the deck. This time they all kind of evened out and wasn't anything major. Carnival of Souls ended up being the most expensive card at $668, I believe it was. We also had, I think Blessed Sanctuary and Blasphemous Act were also pretty expensive up there. But aside from that crazy combo, Carnival of Souls isn't really that necessary. So you could easily cut this card, although it was fun to have in the deck because it's still generating mana when your Bolas is Citadeling, and a lot of times you do that. When you do that first one, you're tapped out and you have no mana, so you can't cast anything from your hand. Doesn't usually matter, but having the souls gives you an option. I wanted to talk about a new little thing, budget breakers, meaning that if we were to include this card, it would pretty much break the budget. It would up the cost. But sometimes there's cards that we felt like we should tell you about that we didn't include. But if you've got the budget for them, they're really great fits. And we're not just talking about Rhystic Studies and Mana Crypts, things that obviously are good in any deck they can go in. But something specifically for this. So Sean, you know this card, right? Gisela?
Yeah.
Gisela Blade of Gold Knight. I'll give you a chance to pull her up there. 4 red, white, 7 mana.
Oh yes, I got her mixed up with the other the transform meld version, but this is the original.
The
Boros
OG.
Gisela. 7 mana for a 5/5 flying first strike angel, and if a source would deal damage to you, an opponent, or a permanent unopponent controls, double that damage. But if any damage happens to you or your permanents, half the damage, rounded up. So again, with Command the Dreadhorde, we can see how this would be amazing in the deck. It is damage, so all those effects that say your opponents lose 1 life, it doesn't double life loss, it just doubles damage. But that's fine. Attacking with a 5/5 first striker is 10 damage first strike in the air. It's amazing. It's $14, so if you've got one in the binder, use it.
I feel like this card was not that expensive, even very recently. Like, it did get a reprinting, a couple of reprints, right? I feel like it was like $5 or $6 at some point, because I remember being like, hey, finally I got one.
Yeah.
Like I remember it coming down in price at some point, but now it's right back up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, $14 for this Gisela. So, I mean, this is a great card for the deck, obviously. We've got ways of dealing damage, stuff like Mayhem Devil and Judith, which is great with Gisela. And then, obviously, that any damage we would take is halved. A lot of times, this just means that your opponents don't even bother attacking you. They're just scrambling for a way to get rid of Gisela, which is like taking the heat off of the real threats in our deck, really. So Gisela would be an amazing include. If you want to include her in there, go for it. If you got one kicking around, it's great. But now it's time for another new segment. Well, I guess that wasn't really a new segment. That's still your budget report. But it's time for a new segment. We've taken what we usually do down here, which is just name our favorite cards of the deck, and we decided to give them the awards treatment. And so yeah, it's a new segment, and usually we would do like our favorite cards here, but this time around, I would like to welcome you to the first annual Oddrick Awards, the Oddricks.
Well, it is a star-studded event, Andy. I'm wearing my best tuxedo. You look great in your tuxedo.
Sean, you look great over there. You look absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Who's over there? Who are you looking at?
Oh, I'm just looking at all the celebrities in the crowd. Oh,
yeah.
Is that you, Alessia? Always smiling at death. Great to see you there. Oh, Aloro, thank you for coming. You can track your own life gain. This is great.
Hey, look, there's the commander we're talking about right now, Jirina Kudrow. Hey.
Hi, Jirina.
Hey, when's that Friends reunion happening? Really great to be here. Sean, why don't you pass out the award for the first Oddrick of the evening?
We're giving the award for the biggest groan from your opponents after a board wipe, and the winner is Thrilling Encore. Well, Andy, if your opponents wipe the board and you cast Thrilling Encore for 4 and a black and put all of the creatures that went to the graveyard this turn into the battlefield under your control, you're going to get the biggest groan.
You're going to get the biggest groan. You know when you're also going to get the biggest groan? If you see this on top of your library with Bolas Citadel, and you quickly sacrifice everything, and then your opponents all lose 10 life because you used the Citadel's ability, and then you just play Thrilling Encore with the Citadel, and you just get everything right back again.
Big groan. Big
groans. Big groans. Our second award of the evening is one that I'm excited to give out here. And this is the award for best art of a guy clearly eating an apple in a chair. And the award goes to Vish Kal, Blood Arbiter. As you can see there, if you're listening to the audio podcast, look up Vish Kal, Blood Arbiter. If you're watching here on our broadcast, on the CBS network here, you can see that Vish Kal is very clearly eating something in his chair, and I'm guessing it's some kind of apple.
Congratulations, Vish. That's a sweep. He's never lost that award.
No, he's never lost that award. 60 years running now. Great. Well, I'll tell you what. Oh, wow. It's good to be out of those tuxes, you know?
Oh, yeah. Back in my regular clothes. It's nice to dress up once in a while, but
Sure.
It feels better like this.
Definitely. Well, that does it for the show this week. Thanks, everyone, for watching and listening. And again, remember to check out our sponsors. You helping them out, it helps us out, right? So if you want, if you're in Canada, check out wizardtower.com. Use our coupon code. It'll get you a little bit off of your singles order if it's inside of Canada. If you're outside of Canada, use our affiliate link for TCG Player if you want to buy any of the cards in this deck, or just follow that link and buy any cards on the whole website. That still helps us out directly as well. So any of that stuff would be great. So tcgplayer.com, Wizard Tower if you're in Canada. Perfect. Guys, thanks so much for watching and listening. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.